Hey guys, welcome back to the Deep In Podcast. This is our third episode. My name is Aiden.
And my name is Matthias.
And I think we have some pretty interesting things to talk about today. But before that, we have a special announcement.
We've got a very special announcement. One of our dear friends, and if you remember in the last podcast we did featuring an underground songwriter, KAITRA, he recently reached on his one of the best songs that he has so far, Second Chance, 2,500 streams, a little over 2,500 streams. And it's just so crazy to think how one man that, he's produced everything, he's created the beats, the lyrics, everything. He's finally starting to get some recognition.
It's crazy.
And I think he reached a massive goal, and we're just very proud.
I want to say congratulations.
Yeah. And make sure you check him out because we will link his Spotify account in the description below.
All right.
Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is being afraid of change.
All right.
How who you are now, in 1 year, you could be different, whether it's your personality or even reflecting back to last year, how you were, like who your friends are, and like doing things that you never thought you would be doing or thinking about, or just, these kind of like mindsets that we've developed over the year.
Yeah, well, I think one thing to think about is that change isn't always bad. And
that's true.
It can be good. But I think it's definitely scary because, I guess transition from we just went from middle school to high school, so that's big, right? Even though obviously right now it doesn't really feel like it because we haven't had in-person school, but I think it's scary at first, but once you realize that you can make it a good thing, then it's a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only other thing that I would have to say is that changing, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever had these moments, but it's an action in time where you have like these two important decisions,
right?
Or maybe not important, but you just somehow know that whatever you choose will affect the rest of your life,
right?
Whether it's your first time doing something or something big that you've never done before, it's just, it will affect somehow in the future and the path that you go down, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. And I think another thing to know is that change is healthy, and that if there's bad change, then there's always something you can do to turn it into a good change later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little bit. Don't you think that if you make a bad decision and now people are like judging you for that,
right?
Do you think you can like come back?
Yeah, it definitely depends on like what people are judging you
like
on,
what you did.
Yeah, what you did.
Yeah.
But change like that is definitely a lot more scary because there's different types of change. There's change in your social life. There's change, I guess, in your physical life if you're like moving somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing. But it doesn't always need to happen. If it's
I want to ask you a question, but if you don't want to answer, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you think that overall your life would be totally different if it was decided that you moved to Georgia and that you would only come here when you're legally allowed to?
Oh, it'd be definitely different. I think that's obvious, but again, that's change. And if it was something that I was forced into, I'm not gonna slouch around the whole time.
Like, let's say we only see you 5 times a month.
Right.
Which
I'd say that's probably a lot more than what would happen, but
it's probably a lot more, but just like that's like the most, like, I hate to say it, but like some of us would like lose the kind of like connection that we have since we're not seeing you so much.
Yeah. It's just, that goes along with like growing up. It's like when you grow up, you're gonna lose a lot of people, and that's something that you can't really stop.
And just like friendships and stuff.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird. I was thinking about it the other day. I feel like our population is gonna have keep a lot more friends as they grow up because of social media.
Because of the technology that we have. Yeah. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it could go so wrong. Like, oh, you didn't like my post. Like, what does that mean? Or like, he didn't text me last night. What does that mean? So it can also ruin everything.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think we definitely live in a vastly different time era than our parents did.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like, oh, my parents don't know me or understand, but like, they just don't know what growing up with this is like.
Yeah, they don't know what it's like as much as we do, I guess.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Growing up, thinking about that, it low-key scares me in a way. Because to think that right now, you know, I'm gonna be only a young child or a young adult for so long, but then once I reach my 30s or 40s, I'm expected to have maybe a job, maybe have 40 children, and I can't go back to being young, you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this the other day. We was in the car with my mom, and I was talking, like, isn't it crazy that, like, in like, I guess a year to a year and a half, most of my friends will be driving.
Oh yeah, you've talked about this a lot.
Yeah, I know I have. But it's like, it's really crazy to me because it's something that you've always seen, like, I don't know, there's a weird way to go about saying it, but it's like you've always seen in, like, shows and stuff, like teenagers driving or whatever. Or like you've seen in real life, you've seen your older friends driving. Yeah. And it's weird to think that, like, you're going to be doing that one day. Or it's like one day I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll drive over instead of, like, walking or whatever, or getting a ride.
Or like going on your bike or something. Right. I definitely think that's crazy to think that in a year's time,
it's
most of us
scary.
will be driving.
Yeah. I'm not going to trust half of you.
Yeah. Alright, so...
Yeah, the next thing I want to talk about was, this is a weird transition, but I think one thing is, like, a life goal of mine is to make a difference in the world. And it's like, I don't want to skate by and not really have an effect on anything or a part in history. I want to have something where it's like my name is in some sort of book or something where it's like, and I know this sounds like selfish, but I feel like it's just like, I feel like I'm almost obligated to, like, make something better.
Do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, remembered in a sense. Yeah, that's, like, the biggest part about it. I want to be, like, I don't want to, I know eventually, obviously, at some point I'm not going to be, like, remembered, because that's just what happens when unless you're Elvis Presley, but...
Yeah.
I think, I just spilled water in my eye.
Oh my god.
But I think, being remembered is something that I really want to, like, make sure happens.
Do you want to be remembered just so you're not forgotten, or for your own self-worth?
I think for both.
For both?
Certain ways. I don't want to be forgotten because, like, I feel like that's something that no one wants to be. And then for self-growth, I think it's definitely, like I said earlier, I feel obligated that I have to, like, make something happen. Yeah. Change something.
And there's definitely some ways you can do that.
Right.
Either you become a really famous songwriter. Like, I don't think Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna be forgotten.
Definitely not.
Right? And the other thing is, and this is, I've thought about this, I've legitimately thought about this, is becoming president.
Really?
Yeah, like, people remember Obama, people remember Bush, because those are, like, recent times. Yeah. But people remember George Washington, James Madison, you know?
Right.
They remember those presidents years on after. And sure, the ones in the middle, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But I want to be a president that makes a change, that makes my name definitely in the books. Yeah. You know? And that's why I'm so afraid to, like if I write any lyrics or something, to put it out there, because it could be used against me in the future or
it's pretty
like
crazy.
Because what goes on the internet stays on the internet.
Yeah.
That's one way to make a difference.
And I think it's, I mean, going back to when we were talking about how different a life we have than our parents, it's like, I wonder how in, like, a couple, probably, like, 20 years in the future, what it'll be like when people like us are old and their kids that are younger. I wonder what they'll have compared to us. It'll be kind of crazy. And then I wonder if things like like how long is YouTube gonna be a thing for, and like what happens to things like that, you know what I'm saying?
I got a good question.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not saying that anyone's parents are bad. You know, some are, some aren't. Some are good parents. I know my parents are good. I love my parents. But do you think that because we're growing up with this technology and we know what it's like, that we're gonna be like more understanding parents in the future? Sorry, I just choked.
Well, I don't know. I think parenting will be a lot different in the future. So I don't know if I could like really compare it. But I guess understanding, yes. As in like, I guess sort of understanding with how things like certain things that our parents didn't have, that we have now, that our kids will have, we'll be able to understand more. But yeah.
So like kind of how social media affects us in a way.
Yeah.
If it affects us at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So kind of speaking about like social media and stuff, there are some studies that say that social media makes you depressed because you're comparing yourselves.
Right.
But if you weren't sad, if you didn't have those moments where you felt like there was no solution, or that you were completely alone and you had no one, you know, that would know what you're feeling, if we didn't have that, then do you think we would still be human? Like, it's kind of a part of our life that we're sad. It's kind of how we learn to accept things.
Well, if we weren't sad, then I feel like we would miss out on a lot of
like lessons and stuff.
Yeah, I guess life lessons. Because you wouldn't really be able to feel for other people. You would really, I feel like motivation would be a lot less common, because if you're not sad, then I don't see like what you need to change, I guess. Do you see what I'm saying?
So do you think like being sad is like self-reflecting on yourself in the future when you have that hindsight?
Yeah, I guess so. It's also a way for you to, I think it's really healthy, I guess. It's a way for you to express something without, I guess, acting or putting on a show, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's really important.
Okay.
And just talking about how it's, you wouldn't really have any motivation without being sad. Another thing is like if there was no death on Earth, if no one died, then would we still be motivated to like, I guess, build new things and keep going with life? I don't know how to explain it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, look, so are you saying that, let's say everybody in the world was immortal?
Right.
And the only way they would die is if someone killed them, or, you know, some kind of like cancer or something
Here,
like that?
to make it easier, how about the only time you could die is if you chose? You see what I'm
chose
saying?
to?
Right. Like there's a magical door you could step through. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. I definitely think that without death, there's almost no motivation in life anymore.
Right.
Because, you know, maybe in the beginning, in your first 20 years, you know, you're gonna do, I don't know, study, or you're gonna party the first 20. The next 10, you're gonna be fat. You're gonna eat everything. Right? And then the next 10 years, you're gonna work it all out. Right? I mean, like, it just becomes this cycle of
and at some point,
your goals.
And at some point, you've done, I mean, everything, really.
Right. And I think that's gonna be the point where people choose to end it.
Right. And it's, when I say motivation as well, I mean, do you think there would be less, I guess, creative people in the world? Less, like, music artists? Less artists that use paint?
Actually, I kind of think there would be more.
Why's that?
Because if you're living through everything, you know, it's like, oh, you know, learning how to compose music, learning how to play the violin. Well, why not? You know, I just dedicate myself for 1 year and boom, I'm done, right? I can choose to go on or I can stop, you know? It's like I'll pick it up maybe in 40 years or never.
But at some point, I definitely see that at the beginning would be like that, but at some point it's to the point. And I was thinking about this, like, this could happen in real life. What if at some point every single song has been written and every painting has been painted? You know what I'm saying? I feel like being creative would be a lot harder. And I feel like that's almost even becoming a reality these days. I feel like it's really hard to write something creatively or make some lyrics when you could easily get, like, told on the internet that that's already a thing, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I kind of get you, but at the same time, you can mix words in so many different ways to make so many different sentences.
That's true.
That by the time that we finally have that music, every music has been written, we'll be so far along. And we have instrumentals, you know, we have things that, like, techno music or dubstep that has no words, that's all beats, and people are constantly finding new ways to, you know, make music and make different sounds that we've never heard but are so fascinating. Creativity just never stops. And I just think it's
pretty cool.
That's where it's gonna go.
The next thing I wanted to talk about was how hard happiness is now than when it was later, I guess, 100 years ago. I think it might be harder now because I guess I just feel like when information can travel like it does today and is so widespread, I feel like it's easier to stumble upon sad news or something that's gonna make you think for a while, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
It's kind of weird to think about because I guess you could also contradict that and say that happiness is easier because it's easier to find happier things, but I feel like things are also slightly worse nowadays, and that's really all I want to...
Well, I agree, because 100 years ago, the only thing people would really know is maybe, you know, how you are, how your family is, and how the people in your town is, right? And maybe not 100 years, maybe 200 years, right? But just in small towns, and maybe if you're a traveler and you go to other towns, then you would know how they're feeling, you know, just very short amount of people, maybe only in your state.
Right, because you have your, it's like a circle, kind of, an inner circle of people who talk with each other.
Right.
There wasn't really
and people who send, like, letters, you know, but you only know that individual person and how they're feeling, not how a bunch of people are.
Right.
And with now's technology, we can get news about third world countries that are dying off to some diseases, you know, like hunger, back in like maybe that. 2014, 15, 16, there was the Ebola,
right,
and that was happening in Africa, and that was so sad to hear about how many families are being affected, and, you know, all of that, you know, and I think just always stumbling on sad news, you know, whenever we're scrolling down something, you know, we see a dead dog or children abducted, you know, getting these Amber Alerts. It's so sad to hear about.
Yeah.
But do you think that we need to hear about these things?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point, because I feel like if there's more knowledge about it, then it's easier to change. Yeah.
All right. So, kind of thinking about how hard happiness is, do you think it's possible to love someone without there being pain? And I don't mean love as in finding a partner. I mean, of course, that's implied, and that's also what I kind of mean. But love as in loving your parents without it being hard, without not arguing with them. Because I know that I've definitely argued with my parents.
So you mean like a perfect love almost? Or
like almost like a perfect love without arguments, without, you know, anything like that at all.
Well, it's definitely really hard, but I feel like there's also, I mean, I'm always going to love my parents. There's nothing that's going to change that. but it's probably, when it comes to relationships with friends and I guess loved ones or like spouses, then it's definitely, there's gonna be more things that can change that, I guess.
Like it's inevitable
get in the way.
that you're gonna have an argument with them.
Right. I feel like arguments are also harder to get by because, I mean, with your blood, there's nothing you can change. Like, you can't go find another mom,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
But you could always find new friends.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were having an argument not too long ago about some
Yeah.
stupid wheels,
Yeah.
right? But
Skateboard
it's just...
Yeah, but we got over it.
Yeah, I mean, we came to a compromise. And I don't know, it's just... I feel like if you love someone, there's bound to be this disconnection or disagreement. Otherwise, is that really love? Is that really loving someone if you're just hiding your opinions so you can be perfect?
Yeah, probably
Afraid to
not.
argue, and you're afraid to argue because you don't want to lose this person. That's not love, that's pretending.
Right.
They don't love who you are, they love who you present yourself to be.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of sunk in.
Yeah. I mean, do you like yourself as a person?
Like, do I love myself as a person?
Well, I guess this is probably more so of a different topic, but I feel like one thing is important is accepting yourself when you're trying to love other people, so I guess do you accept yourself, or like...
I mean, I've kind of thought about this for a while, and I feel like I'm pretending to be who my parents want me to be how they see me, or, trying not to be a disappointment, even though sometimes, I'll feel that maybe I lost something very important and I'll just feel the disappointment, and sometimes I think that I don't like who I am because I'm pretending to be someone, and my parents love that person, but I don't know if that's who I am, or that's who I'm pretending to be. That circles my head because I want my parents to know who I am. I want them to understand me, but I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
I like some things. Some things are good, some things are bad. It's not like it's not like something that I can control,
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to feel emotions for things that you can't really control.
Yeah.
Or I guess change,
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna be a question that's gonna circle my head every month or so, and just like, it just kind of checks up on how I'm doing, if I'm really me, or if I'm pretending.
Well, a good thing, like I said earlier, change happens a lot. I mean, you can definitely change yourself if you don't like who you are.
Yeah.
That's not easy though, definitely. I think changing yourself is one of the hardest ways to change.
Yeah, that's true. Like going from like being fat, to going to back to skinny,
Well, because there's a lot
That's a lot of self-motivation that you need to go through.
It's mental and physical, there's a bunch. Well, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of completely off topic compared to what we've been talking about, but I wanted to ask you if you think that there's other life, I guess, like other than on Earth.
You know how big the universe is?
It's huge. And it's expanding too.
It's expanding all the time. So for there not to be life, I feel like that's almost impossible.
Right. Very small chance.
Mm-hmm. And scientists have said that like multiverses, right, or parallel universes, there's such a high chance that it's true, that it's basically a reality.
Yeah. And another thing is, I mean, we could be the first life forms, you know what I'm saying? Like, what if we are? Because I guess there's only really a certain time from when the universe was created until the future that life will be possible, because, at some point energy is going to be really hard to get. So we could either be really late and like less advanced than a bunch of other I guess alien forms, or we could be the first and not know it, you know. And it's kind of crazy that we don't know, because what if we end up never knowing, you know what I'm saying?
So do you think that in the however many hundreds, billions of years that, because I know in the video that you showed me, it said that it was so hot that, you know, human life, you would just melt, or like your body would just melt. That was what was said in the video.
Right.
But do you think that there could be life forms that adapted to that then became aliens or life forms before us?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I think there's a bunch that's possible and we don't even know about yet. But that was just something to think about, I guess.
That was just something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, that conversation could go on forever.
That's a whole nother episode in itself.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the end of this one. I think we got a lot of topics covered. It's pretty.
Oh, and make sure to, in the comments, put any questions or comments. We love to read them, and in our next podcast, if we get enough questions, we'll definitely do a Q&A at the beginning of it.
Definitely.
So this has been the Deep End Podcast. Hope to see you on the next one, whether it's 1 month or 1 year.
Yeah. All right, we'll see you then. Bye.